All right, everybody, are you ready? We're out in outer space. It's dark, it's black, it's cold, but here's our sun. And instead of putting it in the center of our mat, it's still in the center of our solar system, but we've got to put it over here in the corner so we can add our new planet today. All right, there's our sun. Is it a planet? No, it's a star. And our first planet is Mercury. That's right. That's a rocky planet. You can stand on it. We forgot to mention that about Mars. Mercury, what comes next after Mercury? Venus, that's right. With its atmosphere, its clouds, its smelly atmosphere. Next comes Earth. That's right, our home. And we're going to put out the moon, Earth and moon. And the last planet we talked about was the red planet. Who knows its name? That's right, it's Mars. Okay, we've got the sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Who knows what's next? Well, before we're moving on to the outer planets, the gas planets, these are our 4 inner planets. There's something called an asteroid belt. So I went outside and I picked up rocks from our playground that if you all were here, you would have done. And we would have formed an asteroid belt that goes all around. It follows the same orbit that the planets do. So if you imagine there were a little line going to the edge to represent the orbit where Mercury goes around the sun, where Venus goes around the sun, where Earth goes around the sun, Mars orbits around the sun, and now the asteroid belt. And we could make a big long one, and it would go all the way around the sun because these little asteroids are caught in the gravity of the sun, and they rotate, they revolve. I always say those two wrong. They revolve around the sun, and that's our first row of the asteroid belt. Okay, what's our next planet? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Do you remember? It's the biggest one. That's right. It's Jupiter, and it's our big gas planet. I hope I have it right side up, and it's hard for you guys to see this without a glare. Let's find out some information about Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is, as I just said, an outer planet. It is so large that 1,321 Earths could fit inside of it. Oh my goodness. Let's put Earth right there. So is this the right ratio? If Earth were this big, would Jupiter be this big? If 1,000 Earths could fit inside of it? 1,321 to be exact. No, that would have to be more like the size of a unit, and that would have to be more like the size of 1,000 cube, and even a little bigger to get 1,321 Earths in it. But I'm going to tell you something else about Jupiter. Let's see. Yeah, so could they have given us a big enough piece of paper? A paper Jupiter? No, it would have taken up this entire black solar system mat. Well, let's see this. Let's keep reading. It is cold and windy and has clouds of ammonia. Oh my goodness. Have you ever smelled ammonia? You probably have. It's the ingredient in Windex. So if you have any Windex, maybe your mom or dad will let you wash the window, or they could, and you could get a whiff of that. Ooh, that's what its atmosphere, its clouds smell like, ammonia. Some of its giant storms last for over 100 years. Boy, we feel like we've been out of school 100 years, but we've only been out of school a few days compared to that 100-year storms. Yep, and that's what we're going to find out the big red spot is. Okay, let's take a look at this for a second. The diameter, remember when I gave you the measurement lesson, actually it's in today, I cut an apple apart and measured the diameter across. So the diameter of Jupiter is 142,984 kilometers, or let's see how many miles. 88,846 miles. That's its diameter. Woo! If we cut that planet in half and we measured the distance across, just like I did on the apple, 88,846 miles. That's huge. And our sun is way too small compared to Jupiter. Our sun should be huge. It's even bigger than Jupiter. So it's really hard to get proportions of things for us to even understand this, but we're just trying to get an idea and learn a few facts. Okay, the distance from the sun. We've talked about this before. Let's just go straight to miles. Well, we'll read it. 778 million kilometers. That's in the metric system, or 484 million miles. So that would have 6 zeros on it to be 484 million miles. And so it shows the sun, how far. Here's the sun in our little diagram. What planet it is? It's the 5th planet. All right. Let's read about this. I think I've got to turn this so it won't be so glary. It says, in the far out fact, the pressure of Jupiter's atmosphere is so strong that it would crush a spaceship as though it were an aluminum can. Do you have an aluminum can at your house right now? Like a Coke or a Dr. Pepper in the fridge? Maybe your mom or dad do. Maybe you could try to crush the aluminum can. If it were empty, you might be able to squeeze it and crush it. If it were full, maybe only your dad could squeeze it and crush it. I know I can't do it when it's full, but when it's empty, I can squeeze and crush that aluminum can. The pressure of the atmosphere. So not even on the planet itself, but the atmosphere, just like we've talked about with Earth, is so strong that it would just crush a spaceship like it were an aluminum can. Oh my goodness. Can we go to Jupiter, do you think? Could we ever fly there and land on Jupiter? Well, no, for 2 reasons. That's one big one. The atmospheric pressure is so strong it would just crush the spaceship. But another is, it's a gas planet. We just fall right through it. We can't stand on it. It's not made of rock. I forgot to say this about Mars. Mars is a terrestrial planet, or it is a rock planet, so we can stand on it. Earth is, Venus is, and Mercury. But not Jupiter. It's the first gas planet in our solar system. It's the one that's closest to the sun and the first of the outer planets. Okay, let's take a look at its day. One day on Jupiter is 10 hours. Wow. So that's 10 of our hours. So is that spinning fast? So Jupiter spins on its axis every 10 hours, and it makes day and night. Just like our Earth, remember? It spins on its axis. Excuse me, but it takes how many hours for Earth to make one day and one night? You ought to know this by now. 24 hours. So every 24 hours, Earth is spinning on its axis, and part of it is getting light from the sun, and part of it is dark. Same thing with Jupiter. But it only takes 10 hours for Jupiter to spin on its axis and create a day and night. Now take a look at this. How many moons does Jupiter have? 62 plus. That may mean there's moons they haven't even found. And then it says, does it have rings? Yes. Now, we don't normally show Jupiter as having rings because they're not nearly as as visible or as intense or as strong or can be seen as well from in outer space as Saturn's, but it does have rings. All right. Sorry for moving around so much. Let's take a look at this. So, Jupiter's our 5th planet from the sun. It's the largest planet in the solar system. Something I didn't tell you, but let's jump back down to this fact. Jupiter is so big that all the other planets, including Saturn, could easily fit inside it with room to spare. Oh my goodness. I might have to try that with just our paper planets, is see if we can fit all of them inside of Jupiter. Well, let's read a little bit more. So let's talk about this. How long does it take Jupiter to go around the sun? How long is its year? How long does it take to orbit the sun one time? Well, it only takes 10 hours to make day and night, but it takes, take a look at this, 12 years to go around the sun one time. How long does it take Earth? 365 and a fourth days. But it takes Jupiter 12 years to make one orbit all the way around the sun, one revolution around the sun. Wow, that's long. Okay, it has a bunch of moons. Let's see, they said 62. This says 79 moons. And I'm going to show you something else in our books up here on Jupiter in a minute. Tell you about the biggest ones. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's see. Let me read this. Jupiter was named after the Roman king of the gods. It is the innermost and biggest of the gas giants. It is made up of mostly hydrogen and helium gases and is covered in storms. Jupiter has a giant spinning storm called, this is important, the Great Red Spot, that has been observed for more than 300 years. That's what I was showing you, the Great Red Spot. And they can see that storm from our telescopes. And from the space stations, from the astronauts, when they have gone out in space, they are literally seeing this big red spot and the clouds moving and rotating around it. It's like a giant hurricane. And it's been going for 300 years. Well, it may have been going longer than that, but that's the amount of time that we have a record of it being tracked. And I already said this, Jupiter is so big that all the other planets could fit inside of it. Okay, why don't you get out your Jupiter page in your yellow folder. I've got mine right here. Let's read this together. And then while you're tracing this, I'm going to move over and read a few more things to you about Jupiter. Jupiter is so big that all the other planets, including Saturn, could easily fit inside it with room to spare. Wow. Let's try that for a second. Before we do that, I want to show if any pre-Ks are watching and they want to do a coloring, they could print off the Jupiter page and they could color it, and that looks like it's the big red spot right there. Big red spot. Okay, let's see if we can fit all the other planets in it. I'm going to start with our picture of Saturn. Then we've got the planets we haven't done yet. Uranus and Neptune. Let's put Earth in next because it's a big one. Then Venus. It's a little bit smaller than Earth. Then we've got Mars. We've got Mercury. And we've even got the dwarf planet Pluto. Are they all inside of Jupiter? Yes. And it said that they could all fit inside of it with room to spare. Wow. That Jupiter must be really, really big. Okay, you work on your copy work. If you're a pre-K student, ask your mom to print off your Jupiter coloring sheet, and you could color it just like our paper planet, Jupiter. And like I said, don't forget the big red spot. All right, I'm going to pause this and we'll tell you something a little bit more about Jupiter in just a minute.